What's going on, top 5 scary family, and welcome back. Over the last decade, we've gotten some heavy hitters in the horror genre. James Wan has blessed us numerous times. Patrick Wilson used to be the funny cute guy, and now he's the scariest dude ever. There's a lot going on and a lot coming our way. I'm Taylor McWatters, and here are the top 5 horror movie sequels that we want to see. But before we go on with our list today, we have a special announcement from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Look, Raid is a tough game. It's got 10 challenging dungeons, each with a super tough boss that requires specific teams and strategies to beat. And that's just a start. If you care about story, it's got an awesome, fully voiced campaign with 12 unique locations and 3 difficulties for you to dive into. And there are 13 unique factions, like dwarves, orcs, the undead, or hey, some badass human knights too, and many more. With all those factions, Raid also has an incredible 460 champions, each totally unique with their own design, skills, and strengths. Raid's super active with over 200,000 clans fighting and competing right now. And with over 25 million players, Raid's the hottest mobile game around, and it's also available for PC. And it's only getting bigger. And this month, Raid's got their biggest ever update. The main event here is the Doom Tower. It's a giant tower with 120 floors, a bunch of secret challenging rooms, and 12 seriously badass bosses to take on. On top of that, they're also releasing 14 awesome new champions just in time for the holidays, along with a whole new host of holiday events and tournaments. So go to the video description, click on the special links, and if you are a new player, you will get 50,000 silver, plus 50 gems, 1 energy refill, 1 clan boss key, 5 mystery shards, 1 day experience booster, and a free epic champion, Shaman. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. Good luck, and I'll see you there. Kicking off the list at number 5, Spiral, from the Book of Saw. Okay, so after 8 Saw movies, we're somehow getting another. Now, of course, they can make like 25 movies if they felt like it, because apparently there's a lot of ways to torture people, and apparently there's a lot of people who like watching people get tortured. Neat. The biggest change for the upcoming sequel, set to release next May now, is that Chris Rock is on board. He is a huge fan of the franchise apparently, and he wanted to take a crack at a genre that he's not too familiar with. He's the funny guy, you know? Now he's the scary guy. We've seen it before. The writers for the sequel include Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger, the same writers that penned Jigsaw. So Chris Rock is not only producing it, but he's of course starring in it, alongside Morgan David Jones and Samuel L. Jackson. Okay, I'm actually really pumped for this soft reboot. I feel like the plot with detectives being the ones who are being targeted will add this new type of anxiety to the mix, especially coming from their perspective. And especially with Chris Rock having figured it out too, he's amazing. The film is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who did Saw 2, 3, and 4, which were my favorites, just saying. The movie wasn't a sequel fans were begging for by any means. I think people legit forgot about Saw for a hot minute there. I mean, the last one, Jigsaw, was one of the lowest rated installments, so might have something to do with that. So to see a new producer, a new idea, and dare I say a bold new plot, I mean, if Chris Rock's excited, we're excited. Number 4, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. James Wan is changing the game with Insidious and then The Conjuring. Hell, even Aquaman, the guy's doing DC movies too? The guy's just crushing it. Now, of course, COVID-19 has pushed release dates for many TV shows and many movies back, just way back, and then back some more. So when The Conjuring sequel was moved from September 2020 to next year, fans, like myself, were just so bummed out. Now, of course, there's worse things in the world to worry about, and these things will eventually arrive, but it sucks because the first 2 Conjuring films were so good. God, they were great horror movies. The Conjuring 1 opened with this introduction of Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, as they check out the doings of this haunted doll named Annabelle. Fans were then treated a year later in 2014 to her own solo flick. So it's like we got a teaser for Annabelle without really knowing it at the time. And as far as haunted doll spin-offs go, Annabelle wasn't bad. They're not bad movies. But what really puts this franchise back in line was, of course, The Conjuring 2, scoring an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes and one of the best horror movies I've seen personally. The Conjuring 2 beautifully sets up multiple spin-off films like The Crooked Man or The Nun, but at the same time, it remains true to itself in just being a great standalone movie. So, when The Conjuring 3 was announced, it kind of felt like they announced a few more movies at the same time. If this pattern continues, we're getting into another plot that should set up more spin-offs in this shared Conjuring universe. It's kind of like the Avengers, but with more, you know. Number 3, Insidious 5. 5? James Wan gets 2 spots on this list. That's what happens when you make multiple franchises that work. That's what you get. You get paid and that's it. I mean, maybe casting Patrick Wilson in both are a bit confusing, but we'll deal with it, whatever. The first Insidious was an instant classic. It was new, it was chilling, and it turns out Darth Maul loves spending time in his private workshop. So when Insidious 2 came out, fans were surprised that it held up. I mean, the sequel even changed certain plot points from the first movie while exploring the dark realm, the further. With the latest installment, Insidious: The Last Key, being a prequel, it's time to go back to the other end once again and continue the story with the Lambert family. Insidious 5 will mark Patrick Wilson's directorial debut, which is awesome. I mean, the guy spends so much time on these sets watching horror icons go to work. No wonder he wants a crack at it. Insidious 5 is set to release sometime around the beginning of 2022, with the same cast as the original set to return, including a much older Dalton, played by Ty Simpkins. The plot for the upcoming sequel is apparently centered around Dalton's college days, picking up 10 years after Insidious 2. I don't know, maybe the Darth Maul demon will hold Dalton's legs while he does his cake stand. Who knows? I'm here for it. Number 2, A Quiet Place Part 2. The first day of 2020, we got that trailer. So much hope. A Quiet Place was released in 2018 and was directed by Jim from The Office, John Krasinski. This movie was awesome. The first 40 minutes were just silent Bob, which was wild to see in a full movie theater. Because you would see something terrifying on screen, right? Then the audience would react naturally, maybe like a jumping part or whatever, and you could hear people trying to like hold back their discomfort because they're too embarrassed how quiet the theater is. Like I remember at one part I made like a noise, and then like 8 people looked at me like, yo man, sorry, I'm scared. I spent $25, I'm gonna be scared. Like, thanks dude. So as soon as the sequel was announced, yes, I was in, cool. It looks kind of like The Last of Us, like the way everyone's sneaking around, there's grass everywhere. John Krasinski actually wrote the second installment rather than just directing, which is a good sign. And the early reactions from the beginning of the year shows promise to deliver, with some critics even saying part 2 is unbearably intense and a more than worthy sequel to the 2018 favorite. Honestly, I'll gladly wait this one out for the big screen. These kind of sense deprivation movies don't come along too often, or at least ones with this large of a scale. And finally, number 1, Scream 5. Okay, so when Scream came out in 1996, fans were pleased to see something just new. It was fresh. It was the slasher that made fun of slashers. It changed the game, and it worked really well. Wes Craven did such a good job. The cast is incredible. It's so 90s. So 90s. The game changer that has evolved to a full-on franchise now, with members of the original cast set on returning to Scream 5, like Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell, David Arquette. The first film was so successful, it brought in like $173 million in the box office, and then of course had 3 sequels in 1997, 2000, and 2011. Now 8 years later, Kevin Williamson, who wrote the first, is returning as a producer. That's a great sign, guys. We also have Matt Bettinelli open and Tyler Gillett directing. They did the 2019 Ready or Not flick, which was a lot of fun. Neve Campbell actually almost didn't return to the franchise because she thought it would just be odd to do a movie without the late Wes Craven. Fair, that's fair, we love loyalty. The reason she ultimately agreed is a good sign. It's because the directors wanted to honor him. They really wanted to try hard to make this a good film and not just like a one-off cash cow. Okay, that's a big statement. Like, if this movie sucks, you've kind of ruined the best franchise out there. Good luck, I don't know, break a leg. The 5th movie is simply titled Scream and has been wrapped since last November, with the most recent release date being January 2022. So far away. These franchises are going strong still, and it's amazing that Scream is coming back almost 25 years later. Guys, which of these sequels do you guys want to see the most? Like, if you had to pick one, which one is it? Let us know in the comments. Honestly, I'm ready for A Quiet Place Part 2. After I saw that trailer last year, I've been checking for updates constantly. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. I'm Taylor McWatters, and we'll catch you on the next one. Deuces. Roll the sleeves up like I'm Danny Zuko.
Roll it up. Roll it up.
All right. There we go. Got it. That's what you get. You get paid, and that's it. I mean, maybe, you know, satin? Oh, there we go. Jesus. I'm trying to get with the phlegm in my throat. That sounded cool when I said it. I was like, this big scale. There we go. I wrote that. I was like, yeah.
Nice.